When the team tried to come in, the first dude with the shield, he stepped on the mattress. When he stepped on the mattress, he loses balance. And he telling the rest of them, hold up, man, because he's shaking and shit with the shield. Touch reached through the curtain and snatched the shield out of his hand. They wound up pushing him into the cell. He run into the sheet. He runs straight into me. He throw his little punch at me. I pick him up. I earth him. Wound up dislocating his shoulder. I get on him. Touch at the door, trying to box with the rest that's coming in. They wind up, it's a numbers game. They wind up pounding him out until under the bed.
So, Love, I know you had a life sentence. You end up getting in a knife fight in the penitentiary. What happens? How does that even escalate?
Oh, we ran a dude up in Pollock because he was faking the funk. He had got robbed and he ain't do nothing about it. So we sent his ass up top. He wound up getting to Coleman. There's a lot of fake shit going down in Coleman. He shouldn't even been on the compound. But as soon as I touched down, he thought he had a Vic. But he didn't know one of my homies that slid me a knife. And when he ran down on me, we just got into it in the middle of the yard. I didn't even stay there a day. I went to the hole that night. I busted his head open, gave him some stitches. He gave me a little cut on the top of my head. And they wound up shipping me. I wound up going to the Smooth from there. And I was in the Smooth I wound up being there like 28 months.
So we'll get into the Smooth in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about, you send this dude up top. Tell the people what sending someone up top is.
Okay, sending somebody up top is somebody they might violate or they might not handle their business like they supposed to, and that means they gotta leave the compound. When they go up top, you send them to solitary confinement. But they have cellies in solitary confinement, but you're locked down most of the days. It's not like general population where you get to move around like you want to. You lock down 23-1, Monday through Friday. You lock down 24 hours on the weekends, and you get 3 showers a week. Well, they got showers in the cells now, and a lot of the shoes, so you can take a shower every day now.
This is a homie from New York. You guys send him up top because he got robbed. He didn't fight back. Didn't try to get his shit back. Nothing.
Nah, he didn't even. It wasn't. He didn't know who did it. But once he found out who did it, he ain't do nothing about it. So you can't stay on the compound with that because you make everybody look weak. You gotta stand on that because once you start doing that, dude's gonna keep robbing you, and then dude's gonna think they can start violating anybody from the car. You in our car, so you gotta stand on business. You ain't got you don't have a choice.
Got to stand on business. He gets robbed. He finds out who it is. He lets it ride. What if the dude was like, "Yo, look, man, this is the dude that robbed me." New York dudes are gonna hold him down, right?
Of course, we got his back. He know we got his back, but he got to handle his business. He got to handle his business, and if it gets out of hand, we'll get involved.
I mean, eventually he runs into you, and he's ready to do that knife. He's ready for the knife.
Yeah. Because once he done got to the new spot, he building a little thing there for himself. So when I get there, he see me. He run to the unit to go get a knife, but one of my homies peeped it and was like, "Yo, father here?" I was like, "Yeah, we ran him up. What he doing out here?" He was like, "Yo, I think he just went to the unit to go get a knife." I was like, "Yo, I need a piece." My homie went and slid me a knife. When he slid me the knife, I ran outside. He came straight at me, but he ain't know I had a weapon. And that's how I wound up busting this shit open. And then we danced for a little bit, and the police came, tackled me to the ground, tackled him to the ground. He was trying to say that we robbed him to try to get past what he was doing back at the other jail, lying. But they was carrying the car fucked up in Coleman. They wasn't even running it right. They kept me locked down through some SIS shit. They told SIS not to let me out, and they let him out.
So all in all, dude don't handle his business, but now he builds up a reputation. And sometimes I say the image that you project is the image that you have to protect. So he's willing to knife fight you at the next spot, but he wasn't really, willing to handle that business over at the other spot.
Exactly. You got a lot of dudes like that when they locked up. They'll go against their homies in a heartbeat, but when it comes to them other dudes, the real ops, they be shook to death. They don't want no problems. There's a lot of dudes like that. There's people like that out here in the streets.
Robbed them. What car?
DC. A DC dude.
They take from him.
Took all his food and his wine that he had in the cell that he was making. Because he was a big winemaker. He was making wine on a regular basis. So he had a lot of commissary, sneakers, clothes, all the jail clothes that you get, sweatsuits and stuff like that. He went in there and took all his shit.
He didn't do shit about it.
He ain't do a damn thing about it.
What time was he doing?
But he wanted to go to work with me. I think he had some time, but he was close. I ain't gonna say he was close to the end. He probably had it from that point. He probably had about 5 left, but he had been down for about 10, so he probably had like 15.
Run into him in Coleman, you end up going to the Smooth program. What's the Smooth program like for you?
Shit, the Smooth program at that time was hell because it wasn't no end to it. Now it's just a year, but back then it was 24 months, but you can wind up staying there for years. Like I was running into dudes that was there like 3 years, and I was like, yo, what phase you on? They're like phase 1, because you got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Phase 1 is the worst phase. That's 6 months. At that time, it was 6 months. You barely got any property. You don't have no commissary. It's basically like just being in a shoe for 6 months. You get one phone call every 30 days, just like in the shoe. Then you got phase 2. Phase 2, they give you a little bit more of your property back. You still don't have any. The commissary is real light. Like you could buy a couple of candy bars. You could buy, that was about it at that time. A couple of candy bars, a mackerel, and a beef sausage. You stay on that for 6 months, and then when you upgrade to phase 3. Now, when you upgrade to phase 3, you can start really like going to commissary. You can really start like ordering commissary. You can order big bags of peanuts. I think like 3 mackerels, 2 beef sausages, stuff that could get you through the week because they feeding you like you in the shoe. They bring your food to the cell. It's real small portions. And as you get to different phases, you get a little bit more freedom. You get to come out a little bit more. You get to come out on the range. Because when I got to phase 3, they shipped me to Colorado to finish it out. I started in Lewisburg, but Lewisburg only had phase 1 and 2. They only had one unit that had phase 3 and 4. You either went to Allenwood, Smooth, to phase 3 and 4 out, or you went to Colorado. I went to Colorado.
Let me ask you this, right? So people can kind of understand. I mean, I know what it's like, but is there days where you're like, man, I got to get to phase 2 so I could get some food. I'm starving in here.
It wasn't even really that. It was, for me, it was the law library. I was one of them dudes that was always working on my case. And getting to the law library was a coin toss because there's one law library on every floor and everybody trying to get in there just to get out the cell. You got dudes that ain't even working on their cases. They just want to go to the law library to get out the cell, to get away from their cellie for an hour. So it'll stack up. You might not get to the law library, but twice a week. So I needed to get out so I could work on my case. I was one of them dudes that stayed on top of my shit. It paid off in the end, though.
Let me ask you this, right? Because some people don't really understand how much violence was there? How vicious was the violence at
Oh, in the Smoot, it it was popping off on a regular basis because a lot of dudes didn't want cellies. So they used to do creep shit though. A lot of it was dudes are waiting till you cuff up, because you got to cuff up to go to the showers. You got to cuff up to go to rec. You got to cuff up to go to medical. And what dudes would do is they would wait until you cuff up and just start beating the shit out of you. Or if they got a weapon, start stabbing you or start cutting you, because they were sending a message to the police that they didn't want no cellies.
How about in the rec cage? You see some vicious shit out there at rec?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. The white boys put out a vicious lick one time on another white dude. How they did it was, you got one CO, he's walking back and forth in the rec cages. He's walking back and forth. So you got a bunch of cages lined up. It's how many to a cage? At that time, it was 6 to a cage. It could be three. That's three cells with 2 people apiece for each cage. Their cage was right across from ours, but it's a bunch of cages. And the CO, when he got all the way down to one end of the cage, the white dudes that was down there, that was down with the lick, they started talking to him to keep him busy so he wouldn't know what was going on. And they started jumping the other white boy, got him on the floor, started stomping him out. And he was like, Joey, stomp his head, stomp his head. He started jumping up and down on his head, stomping on his head. It looked like he was about to crack that joint open, but the police finally seen what was going on, ran down there. All the police came. They made all of them get down, came in there, took dude out. Dude was woozy as fuck. They ain't even cuff him. They just let him walk out the cage. He was stumbling. I know he had a concussion.
How about when you experience that violence and you see that type of stuff? Does it affect you in any way?
Mm-hmm. Nah, you get desensitized to it because you see it so much. Like I was just telling somebody that, like, I could watch 2 people start stabbing each other right now, and it would just be in the pen. The first thing you start analyzing what's going on. Is he somebody I fuck with? Is he somebody that I'm attached to? I know we locking down. What groups is involved? How long we gonna be locked down? Sometimes I used to just be like, fuck that. I'm running to the microwave to go heat up my food. Or I'm going to go fill up my jug with ice. Cause I know we're gonna be locked down for the day. Hopefully we ain't locked down for a week or a month or anything like that nature. But that usually happens when there's other races involved and they think it's gonna be a race riot. Like say if it was a Mexican and a white dude, or if it was a Mexican and a black dude, or a black dude and a white dude, that's when you know you ain't coming out for a while. That's the only thing that be going through my head. You don't really think about the violence in itself until afterwards, and dudes be talking about it to each other. Yo, you seen that shit? Man, you seen the blood, how this blood was squirting out the side of his neck? Because there was a Boston dude. He came from when they shut down the Supermax in Marion. He came to Pollock. A lot of them came from Pollock. That's how that race riot had kicked off, because that DC dude, he came from Marion. And in Marion, they was at war with the white dudes. And he always had that mentality, even when he came to the compound. But anyway, the Boston dude, he was trying to press some of the other white dudes. And when he came out the mess hall, dude walked right up to him and stabbed him in the neck. When he stabbed him in the neck, I ain't gonna lie, he went hard body. He turned around and went straight at his ass. No weapon or nothing. Got to wrestling with him. Got him on the floor. Started getting the knife out of his hand. But the police came and rushed him. Held both of them down, broke them up, took them apart, and started walking them through the hall. And he was like, woo! On some hype shit. But blood is squirting out his neck. I mean, like squirting, like spraying. And the police said as soon as he went around the corner, he passed out. He ain't died, but he lost a lung. He lost a lung behind that, because he got hit in the neck and he got hit in the body.
vicious life to live, right?
Hell yeah. Shit, a Florida dude, he had got stabbed up so bad in the stomach, he had to run up to the lieutenant office. They said he was like literally holding his intestines in. The DC dudes did that. That's when the DC dudes and the Florida dudes got into it in Pollock. It was over a football game.
So in 1993, Love, you get arrested, right? You get jammed up with the feds. How old are you when you get arrested?
Nah, I didn't get jammed up in the feds. I got jammed up in the state. I was 19 when I got locked up. I was in the state first. And then while I was in the state, the feds came and pulled us on a superseding indictment. Because, dudes started getting locked up. Dudes started telling. The more dudes started telling, the more dudes started coming in. And dudes that was coming in started telling. And it was just a domino effect.
What do they charge you with in 93, the state?
Oh, in the state, I had 2 armed robberies and a gun charge. One of the armed robberies was bogus. That shit didn't even happen. Another armed robbery, we had robbed the Petland discount store. It was sort of like an inside job. The dude that was working there was like, "Yo, man, you can come hit this spot. I know the safe combination and all this other shit." And then I had a gun charge. The other robbery, that shit didn't even happen. I don't even know why that bitch did that shit. That shit pissed me off. I wasn't gonna cop out to that, but I had to because they was like either you cop out to this or you go to trial on everything. And I was gonna go to trial on everything, but they was like, "We'll give you something that's called an Alfred plea." An Alfred plea is you don't have to admit to doing anything. You basically saying, "I'm pleading guilty not because I'm guilty, but because I don't want to take a chance on taking it to trial." Because when you cop out, you have to admit what you did. And I was like, I'm not doing that because I didn't do shit.
Time you get when you cop out? What are you getting in the state?
Oh, in the state, I had a 2 to 6. And then,
you get a 2 to 6, and then what happens?
I got the 2 to 6. I went up north. I went through downstate first. Then I wound up going to Green. I was in Green for a little bit. Then the feds came and got me and pulled me to MCC. And that's when the case started there. It's Little Will was the head of my indictment. It was
you were on the indictment with Little Puerto Rican Will?
Yeah.
Man, I was in Big Sandy with Will. He ends up getting stabbed like 50 times over there.
Because he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. And he tried to rat. He tried to tell on the case. No, as a matter of fact, Buck tried to rat. He told him everything without a deal. So when the prosecutor comes, the prosecutor was like, "What the fuck I'm gonna give him a deal for? He done told us everything." But they was like, "What we do want you to do is we want you to tell on your brother," because his brother was the money man. But he didn't want to tell on his brother. That's why he was forced to go to trial.
I know Will's story. I was in Big Sandy with him. He ends up getting. I can't believe that he lived through that. He ended up living, but he got stabbed like 50 times, bro.
I don't understand. He got an open date right now. I just looked up because I looked up his name. He got an open date right now. I think he come home this year or next year, and he had 11 life sentences. I don't know what he did.
Man, that's crazy. So anyway, you're 19. You go up. You get the 2 to 6. Feds pull you over. What do the feds charge you with, Love?
The feds charge me with arson, distribution conspiracy to commit murder and aid of racketeering, using and carrying a destructive device. That was the grenade. Using and carrying a firearm. Those were the charges. I wasn't charged with the racketeering.
So you're walking around Brooklyn with a grenade?
Allegedly. I'm gonna say allegedly about the things in my case because it's a reason, but I'm gonna just always say that. Allegedly. Yeah, allegedly.
People what this case was allegedly about. Like, I mean, there were spots, they were doing big numbers.
Okay. Allegedly, there was a drug organization called the Mora organization. And they were selling drugs in East New York. At one point in time, allegedly, some other crews started banging at them. So a little war took place. And the Mora organization, they was getting the bad end of the stick. And then some other guys was selling drugs and cutting off their line of supply, so on and so forth. So They decided, man, we're gonna put an end to all this shit. They called it that day. They called it Doomsday. It was like we're gonna go around and we're gonna take care of everybody that need to be taken care of. And one of the main people was it was a drug spot out in East New York, and allegedly I walked in there and tossed a grenade, and then allegedly we all started shooting at the people that was in front of there, and then leaving from there, tried to kill another drug dealer, and then pulled up on the corner where some other drug dealers were, and allegedly Little Will opened fire on the corner, killed the dude, shot another dude in the foot. And that's all that happened on that night. And then there was another
let's talk about this night first, right? You allegedly go into this house, you pull the pin.
It's not a house, it was a store. It was a store. You
hold on. You pull the pin, you throw it in there, does it blow up?
Yeah, it blew up. The police said they heard the explosion. The police that came and testified to the case, they said they heard the explosion a couple of blocks away. They was doing a traffic stop.
What did a grenade go for back in the day, back then, allegedly? How much was that?
$100? $100?
For $100 you can get a grenade?
Yeah, hell yeah.
You're a bad motherfucker, bro.
People don't understand how there's a lot of weapons in the streets. I've seen rocket launchers. As a matter of fact, they used one in East New York, 92 New Year's going into 93. Dudes from Cyprus let off a rocket launcher. They hit an abandoned building out in East New York. 92 New Year's going into 93. It sounded like thunder.
Are you charged with murder based on the grenade going off? Does someone die based off of that allegedly?
Nah. The other spot where the corner got shot up, somebody died there. And they saying that I was in the car, I was attached to that murder.
Now the next day, you were talking about that was the first day. Now there's a next day. What happens on the next day of Doomsday?
The next day, somebody was seen. Somebody was seen driving, and Little Will just opened fire on them. And then it was a big chase scene. It was a big chase scene chasing him. The police come out of nowhere, start chasing us, and everybody wound up getting away.
At least you got away for the night and for a little bit of time, but eventually the feds catch up with you, right?
Yeah, like I said, I was doing time upstate in New York, and then they came and pulled us. They came and pulled us because the snowball effect started kicking in.
This is what I mean. Like you said, we got away, but really you didn't get away. You got away while you were up doing your statement. They show up, they get you. So you didn't really, you got away for the day, for the night,
mm-hmm.
for a year, for whatever. But eventually they catch up with you and you're sentenced to life, right?
Yeah, double life plus 50. I got a life for the murder, a life for the drugs, 50 years on the back for the grenade.
How old are you when you go to trial, obviously?
Yeah, of course.
How old are you when you get found guilty?
21 or 22.
You get sentenced what, shortly thereafter?
Yeah. I got sentenced. Then they sent me back to the state to finish my state time. Because I had to do the 4 years there, but I had to finish my state time. And then when I finished my state time, they brought me back to the feds, and that's how I started my bid in Lewisburg. I was in Lewisburg from 98 to 2004. That's when I went to Pollock.
I want to ask you what it's like to be sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 50 years. What goes through your mind? Are you like, this is my life, it's over with?
Yeah, part of you was thinking like that, but I was always of a mind that some way, somehow, I'm gonna get up out of here. Some way, somehow, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get back on the pill. That was always my mind frame. That's why I was always in the law library, looking up laws, trying to work my case. I was real hands on with my appeal, but I was also getting in trouble, getting into fights, going to the hole. And that doesn't help. I had to learn to get away from that. Getting in trouble, beef with the police. I got an assault charge for assaulting the police when the riot squad came in our cell, they was trying to get my cellie touched. He had threw shit on the police. And they wanted to come in there and get him, and they was telling me to cuff up. And I'm like, nah, I can't do that. You know I can't do that. They was like, yo, we come in there, we're going to get you too. I was like, that's what it got to be then. But it ain't turned out how they wanted it because we flooded the cell. We flooded the whole range. We put the light out in the cell. We folded up mattresses and put them by the door. Then we put shampoo and baby oil all over the mattresses. And then we had took a sheet. I took a sheet from one side of the cell to the other side of the cell to block the door so they couldn't see us from behind the sheet. When the team tried to come in, the first dude with the shield, he stepped on the mattress. When he stepped on the mattress, he loses balance. And he telling the rest of them, hold up, man, because he's shaking and shit with the shield. Touch reached through the curtain and snatched the shield out of his hand. They wound up pushing him into the cell. He run into the sheet. He runs straight into me. He throw his little punch at me. I pick him up. I earth him. Wound up dislocating his shoulder. I get on him. Touch at the door, trying to box with the rest that's coming in. They wind up, it's a numbers game. They wind up pounding him out until under the bed. Yo, we had a table full of oranges and shit, because this was back in the days when we used to be able to get sugar, oranges, and everything. This ain't like how it is when everybody else came in, when they got the zero sugar packs and stuff like that. They started throwing oranges under the bed at touch. At touch. And then they finally get him out. They finally get me. They wrestling, trying to get my arms. They trying to punch me in the nut. They bending my arms. They getting their little punches in or whatever. And then they take us and they 4-point us. You know about 4 points, right?
I did 20 years, brother.
Yeah. I got 4 points.
Mostly in the penitentiary. But
yeah, I got 4-pointed. Touch got 4-pointed. They wound up letting us loose that night. The longest I've ever been 4-pointed was 6 days. I didn't know I could have sued them for that. I was young. Wow.
Let me get some insight on the 4 points so people know what it is. They cuff one hand over here, one hand over there, they cuff one leg, the other leg, and you're laying there like that, man, at their mercy. How does it go? How do you get something to drink? How do you get something to eat?
Okay, they come in there. They're supposed to come in there every 2 hours and turn you over. But we know they don't do that. You just stay there until, like, a lieutenant is making his rounds. You'll tell the lieutenant, yo, man, I got to use the bathroom. The lieutenant will go get 2 officers. They'll come in there. They'll loosen an arm. They'll loosen you. You got to use the bathroom, and then you got to go back into the restraints. When you eat, they'll just loosen one arm, loosen your other arm so you can sit up, but they'll leave your legs shackled to the bed so you can sit up and eat. But I never eat when I'm 4-pointed. That's why they always let me up.
I mean, I can't even imagine. I've never been 4-pointed, but I can't imagine what it's like to be. That's got to feel like this is it, man. Like, how much more can you possibly take, right?
Nah, but like I told you, I was young and wild. When I used to be 4-pointed, I used to sing all night and talk shit to everybody on the ranges, because you know you in the shoot. So everybody else in the shoot, dudes be cracking jokes all day, talking shit to each other all day. You just do everything to occupy your mind. The only time it really kicks in is late at night when everybody is asleep and you laying in there by yourself. You get a lot of thoughts going through your head, but you just bear with it. You bear through it.
Be mentally strong, right?
You got to be, because I've seen people go to the shoe and lose it.
I've seen it plenty of times.
Nah, my codefendant actually lost his mind. He lost his mind. He was fucked up for a minute, and then he wound up cutting the AW in Lewisburg, and they took him to Marion. When Marion got shut down, they took him to Florence, Colorado. They say he killed himself. Some dudes that was there saying they did it. They said he was coming back from rec one day, and they separated him and took him down the hall. Dudes say they heard him screaming, and then they said that he killed himself. So I'm not sure exactly how that went.
Co-defendant was that? What was his name?
Oh, we called him Gotti, but his name was Jose Vega.
And
I still remember his ID numbers 45189-053. Yeah.
I mean, you were close with these dudes, right? They were like your family.
Nah. The only one I was close with was Gotti. Gotti was my homie. I didn't fuck with Little Will and them like that.
Come on, now. You went in there with the grenade, but you didn't fuck with Little Will. Come on now.
Man, you know what I was going to do to Little Will the day we got locked up? If we wouldn't have got locked up, Little Will wouldn't be here.
Okay, maybe you weren't that close with Little Will. You know where's he at now? Where's Little Will at now?
Last I checked, I think he's in an FCI. It's either FCI Coleman or FCI Beaumont. I looked him up, but that's how I know he got an outdate now. And I'm trying to figure out how he got an outdate. But I don't know because I'm not in contact with him. I know his brother came home, David. David has 7 life sentences. He came home. I thought maybe he came home on compassionate release, but he came home a couple of months before me. The only one that's still left in there is Leo Contreras, but he was never on the law library like I did, and he probably ain't realized what had happened and thought he ain't had no out. And I can't even help him because you only got a year from the time a new law comes out to use it. So he's stuck.
He might be able to get back in on a compassionate release and make an extraordinary, compelling reason argument on that. With his rehabilitation, no longer a threat to public safety, sentencing disparity, all the co-defendants are out. I mean, he's got some issues. We'll talk about it. He got
a brutal murder though. He set somebody on fire.
I mean, they let Tut out, right?
Yeah, but you know, Tut didn't kill Pac. Tut just shot him up in Quad Studios.
Yeah, but he had a lot of other shit too. They let out Prince, right? Gerald Prince Miller, right?
Yeah, I was shocked at that. Yeah, I was shocked at that one. Prince ran up one of my rats back in the days. He ran up Yusuf Makiti. He ran him up at Allenwood when he got there. He found out he was there and he ran him up top. I always got to thank Prince for that, but I never ran into him.
I did the Chazzy Glenn case. Chazzy had G-Shine. I think they were G-Shines. 2 murders in that case. He had life. I did his case. I got it knocked down to 30.
Oh, yeah?
I did the Tommy Reynolds case, bro. Tommy Reynolds allegedly killed like 6 people, mafia hitman, whatever. I just got Tommy out about a month and a half ago.
Wow.
I mean, your co-defendant, we'll talk about that after, but
yeah,
we'll talk a little bit more about, prison and what life was like for you. So, people are like, okay, you had all this time. How did you get out?
Oh, I told you. Trump came with the First Step Act.
You told me, but they want to hear it. You told me.
Okay. When Trump came with the First Step Act, that really opened the floodgates. But there was a new Supreme Court law. It was called the US versus Davis, where they peeled back an old law that the government was always using to convict us for certain crimes. And that got rid of my grenade charge. When that got opened up and got rid of my grenade charge, the First Step Act got rid of my life sentence on my drug charge. Because back in the days, when they used to give us drug charges, they didn't give us no drug amounts. You would just get sentenced at the end, and whatever your pre-sentence investigation report said, that's what they would give you. But that's against the law. You got to let the jury decide what the drug amount is. So they had to zero that out and give me the lowest end on that. So that would be time served on that. With the 50 years going off the bat, with the grenade gone, the only thing that was left was really my murder that I had a life for. But at that point in time, when they sentenced me with a law that wasn't in effect when the murder happened. The murder happened in 93. The new law came into effect in 94. When I got sentenced in 95, 96? When I got sentenced, they used that law to sentence me, which was mandatory life, but that's not what it was supposed to be. So being that was an illegal sentence, she had to give me a number for that. And I have to give my lawyer credit because I had filed for a lawyer once I got back in the court and I got everything reopened. He did a real good job at humanizing me in the eyes of the courtroom. Like he went and talked to all my family members. He found out shit about my family I ain't even know about. He was talking to everybody, and he compiled a family history for me and a history for myself. And the judge, and she saw that I had published a book. I had wrote a superhero novel called Dark Soul by L. Brooks, and it's on Amazon. And she seen that, she was like, that shows that I had some positivity about me and that I was moving in the right direction. And instead of knocking my head off again, which she could have did, or leaving it like it was, like she could have did technically, she gave me time served. And I
Did you have
can't
Judge Preska?
say, huh?
Did you have Judge Preska?
No. At the time I had Judge Sifton, and now I have a she's a female judge. I'm trying to remember her name. She's Asian. I didn't have Preska. I don't even know who that is.
Preska's a good one. She was one of the best.
Oh, I wish I would have had her.
On a panel on compassionate release with her and Harlan Protas, one of the best in the country. Fair, you know that's all you look. But she's Boy George's judge. So, but anyway, you know you're doing all this.
Boy George is a head case, man. I was with him in Pollock.
That's why she didn't let him out, because she said, you know, you're in here doing the wrong thing, and
over and over again.
Pretty much said, look, you know, come back in 5 years and show me that, you know, you're not involved in selling drugs in prison or stabbing people or, you know, associated with Mexican gangs or any of that. And then we'll talk about letting you out. And I think she will, if he's doing the right thing. And that was like 2 years ago. So who knows what Boy George is doing. But I honestly hope that Boy George makes it out of prison. I hope he gets a chance, man. I do. You know, I feel that way about a lot of people. I think a lot of people deserve a second chance to reclaim their lives, man.
He's bitter though. Like he's bitter about everything that transpired. But it's like, yo, you are who you were. Like, what did you expect was gonna, you know, that's what happens to, especially kingpins. That's what happens. Like, what are you bitter about?
Big things, you get big things, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it is. Unfortunately, for some people, that's exactly what it is. So anyway, you know, you're fighting your case. You end up finding out, look, man, I'm not going to be doing life no more. How does Love feel in his mind? Like, wow, I'm going to get out of here?
Yo, but it was during COVID, so I was locked down. So it was like pent up excitement. We all locked down, but everybody had phones in USP Atlanta. So I was basically like telling, like, yo, it's looking good. It's looking good. I might be up out of here real soon, so on and so forth. Doing little posts or whatever. I was excited. I was planning on coming home. I started building my credit. I got a secure credit card. I started paying my own phone bill with that to build a credit history because I never had one of those. I started saving up money, doing a little hustling, selling weed, cigarettes to put money on my account. I was sending that to the bank. I set up a bank account. I was preparing myself for coming home. But it's still, you can't, even though I was seeing it through what I was seeing through the phone and getting on social media, out here seeing it is totally different from being in there. Like, when you get out, it's overwhelming because there's just so much shit now. Like, everything is crazy. It's crazy. It was crazy for me. But I loved it though. I had a good support system.
That's what's up. I see your TikTok, right? I see you out here trying all different kinds of foods.
Yeah. I'm really on that now. Because when I came home with the 93 mentality. I was cool with McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and I'm looking at all the other places like, man, that's just another burger joint. Five Guys. Okay, Five Guys, what the fuck is that? And I finally just tried that this year. I finally just tried Jersey Mike's. And that was right around the corner from my mother's house. But I just looked at it as another sandwich place. Because I was, like I said, I still had 93 mentality. 93, you had Blimpies, but I was looking at, okay, Subway got sandwiches. That's cool. Everybody else, okay, that's a sandwich. But I'm not knowing, these are different sandwiches. These joints is gas. Like different. And now I'm starting to see that. But I was already going to like restaurants and stuff. That's my thing. Going to restaurants. I went axe throwing, bowling, I finally went swimming like 2 years ago. I went to a beach, and that was my first time seeing the water. Like that shit blew me away. Seeing the beach, that was something I thought I would never see again, and that shit fucked me up. And I went out there and I went swimming, and yeah. I people don't know. My mindset is I was dead. I was gone. So this is like a resurrection for me.
Wow. I mean, so sometimes like I did 18 years, right?
Yeah,
So straight. So sometimes, man, like I've been home almost 5 years now. I'm able to like, if, in the beginning it was hard, man. Like certain things would make me emotional or make me feel some kind of way, So like just the small things, walking around in this neighborhood and the neighbors say hello to you where I live at now. You know what I mean?
exactly. Then people don't know like little stuff like that is like when I first got that, people just speaking like, hey, I'm like, what's up? Like it was throwing me off. Like you trying to bring me a move? You got something? What you got going on? Because you thinking from that jail mentality. You thinking from that jail mentality. You're not accustomed to people who just making their business to speak to you just because they're neighborly or they're just nice.
I mean, hey, look, you learn to appreciate certain things, right?
Yeah, that too. But like I told somebody one time, the first time I went to a major restaurant where I was sitting eating, and I know she didn't mean nothing by it, but instinctively a waitress had reached over my food. And I gave her a little side eye. And then I had to remind myself, like, this is not prison. She's not meaning to disrespect you. Because you can't reach over nobody's food in prison. That's like one of the highest violations. I seen it kick off upstate New York just behind somebody passing somebody something and he reached over somebody's tray. And that's ingrained in you, but you have to remove all that stuff when you get out here.
Tell you something. It's crazy you said that, right? I go to this small group with my church on Friday mornings, right? There's like 10 guys there. One of the guys is 94 years old, and we always go to the same place for breakfast. And today, and I'm not just saying this because you said today the waitress reached over my stuff. And instinctively I was like,
Yeah,
damn, man, why you do that? You know what I mean? She got the coffee pots, her hands shaking to give the old man some coffee. I'm like, damn, man. But it's crazy how some of this stuff in prison is ingrained in your mind.
exactly.
I don't know if you ever lose it. Do we ever lose it?
You you don't lose it, but you learn to suppress it. Like you learn to suppress it because she's not making it her business to disrespect you, and she's not looking at it as she disrespected you. She's just looking at this. I'm doing my job. I do this 1,000 times a day. I'm not thinking you was locked up and this is the highest violation to you. So you learn to suppress it. It trips me out seeing cigarettes on the ground because I'd be like, oh damn, that's money. That's money. That's the first thing that pop up in my head if I see a cigarette on the ground and it got a little length to it. I'd be like, oh damn, that's money. That's about $20 right there. I'm like, damn, nigga probably can pull out about $40, $60 off of that. All right. Or what I had. Oh man, okay. This right here. You see this? You know these paper clips?
You can cut your bed open with that.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't know. You looking at this as a paper clip. I'm looking at this as a weapon maker. Exactly. I could break this open and I could cut me a weapon out of steel, a flat piece of steel. It's just wild your thought process once you done been to prison, things that you see out here, and it's just crazy.
Look, I mean, this is the life that we live, right? And some people tell stories that haven't done a lot of time, or some people are fascinated by these stories. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, there's times that you've had good times in prison, right? But
Of course, kicking it with your homies.
but you'd much rather be out here in the street, right?
Exactly. Exactly. There's nothing in prison that's better than being out here. I did one post where I seen a bum walking past me. And I was like, I would rather be out here like him than to be in prison, living like a so-called king. I can't stand locking in at night, being told to go to your cell, and that all of that shit just bothers me. And being around men all day, all goddamn day, like all of that shit just burns my soul. I can't never look at that as anything being better than the fresh air that's out here. Being able to see cars drive past. I used to like going to the outside hospital just so I could see cars.
I mean, like you said, some dudes go to the law library just to come out of the cell. I used to do that when I was in the hole.
Exactly.
I did a lot of legal work, but I might not even have nothing going on. And I'd be like, hey, I need the law library just because I want to walk down the hall.
Walk down the hall, but sometimes you just want to get away from your celly for an hour. Like, I'm locked up with this dude all day, every day. Let me go down the hall and get a breather where it's just me and my thoughts and myself. You want that. You need that solitude from time to time, and you don't really get that.
About 4 minutes ago, I started this conversation with a question, and I asked you, this question for a reason. You did 27 years straight, right?
Yeah.
What hurt you the most when I talked about appreciating things? What hurt you the most about being in prison for 27 years?
Not being there for my loved ones when they needed me. My son, my mother, my baby mother, not being able to be there for them when they needed me. That hurt me the most. Like, me and my son we're cool, we're not at odds, but we don't have a real relationship. We don't have a real relationship. And I know that came from me being in prison and just not being able to be there. Like, one time my mother was in a car accident and she downplayed her injuries because she didn't want me to worry about it. One of my cousins got killed and everybody was keeping it from me because they didn't want me to spaz out and go off in jail. Like, it's just things like that. I lost my grandmother. I lost my uncle, my aunt. You lose people and you can't even comfort your loved ones. That hurt me the most. That bothered me the most. Not being able to be there for them when they needed me.
It's real and it's raw right there, right?
Hell yeah.
Holidays. What were holidays like for you, man? Did it hurt?
I can't say it really hurt. You try not to.
No. Let me stop you, bro. You said how much you love your mother, right? You call your mother on Christmas. Did it hurt?
I'm not going to say it hurt, but there was a longing, wanting to be there to celebrate it with them. Because, Christmas is always a big thing in almost every household. My mother isn't a real big holiday person, but she was real big on Christmas. Christmas was her thing. So, like, not being able to be there, to be with them and open up the gifts and her enjoying that, because that's what she's into. She loves that. And I miss that with my little brother and my little sister coming up, so on and so forth. That it's that longing, but like I said, you try to block it out, or you might go smoke some weed so you can get through that day or whatever, or drink some wine that day. Because I wasn't a big drinker or smoker in prison, but say like on a day like that, I would, just so I could get through that day.
It did hurt then, so you had to get away from the hurt and the pain.
Yeah. That longing, that need to wanting to be there. Yeah, that shit is intense. That is intense because you're in jail and dudes is trying to celebrate and trying to make a day of it, but you really want to be with your family. You want to be with your loved ones. You want to be out there.
Let me ask you this: 27 years in prison. Was there ever an incident in prison where it bothered you, where something happened to maybe some young dude and you were like, damn, man, where you felt bad inside? Like, I wish I could have helped that dude, or I wish that shit didn't happen to that dude. You ever have an incident like that in your life?
I'm trying to think. There was one incident that took place in Atlanta around the time that I came home that really, really, really bothered me. It was a dude that came in. He's in his 20s. I've seen his paperwork. His paperwork was good. But then he was a YG from out of New York. But then somebody sent some paperwork that okay, when he was 13, he got stabbed. And his mother made him go to the hearing of the dude to see if they was gonna charge the dude as an adult or not. And dudes were using that as he's a rat, he gotta go. But a lot of us was like, yo, he was 13. Like you gonna hold him accountable for that for the rest of his life? Like he gotta wear that for the rest of his life? He's 13 years old. And it was like we was at odds with each other behind that. Because you had a group and they was with the guy who actually got the paperwork. He was another YG dude. He was supposed to handle it, but he left it up to us because we was over in the unit with him. And I was like the OG in that unit, and it was basically on me. And I was like, yo, I don't feel like he's hot, but to keep the noise down, we're gonna send him up. I took his weapons off of him and we sent him up top, but he wound up being stuck in the hallway because they wasn't going to send him up top to the police. He wound up seeing these dudes from the other unit and wound up getting into it with them. But it always bothered me because I was like, yo, the dude was 13 and y'all want to drown him for the rest of his life for something he did when he was 13. When I was 13, my mother had total control of me. If she would have told me to do something like that, I would have did it. Like you can't hold me accountable as a man for that. And me and my homie really got into it about it because he real big with the GDs. His name Vaughn. And I told him, I said, Vaughn, you killed somebody when you was a teenager, and your argument was you shouldn't get life because of how young you were. But yet you turn around and want to hold this dude accountable for something that he did when he was 13. And he's supposed to pay for that for the rest of his life. And it was just a big thing about it. I didn't like that. That shit bothered me. I don't like that ignorant shit.
Feel you. So, Love, man, how old are you now?
I'm 50 now. I just turned 50
Years old.
In October.
50 years old, spent the best years of your life in prison, right?
Nah, these are the best years of my life because I appreciate it more.
Well, I mean, hey, I respect. I respect. But I mean, so you spent. I mean, because there's young dudes out there listening, man. That they're caught up in the street, right, doing wild shit. They could end up with a life sentence like that.
And I be explaining them like I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. There are dudes that are in there that will never get out. Been in since they was 18, 19, 20, been in there 20, 30 years. They're going to die old and alone. Because once you get to 60s, you've been in there 40 years, ain't nobody checking for you from out here. The streets ain't checking for you. The streets ain't trying to look out for you. You ain't getting no help from them. You might have a family member that's alive that's still attached to you. And that's rare. That's very rare. And when you start losing your mother, your father, your siblings, my homie lost his son and it crushed him. He turned into an alcoholic. He started drinking. Every time some wine came down, he was trying to buy something because he just wanted to drown himself in that. He lost his son and he couldn't handle it.
Well, you've been home how long now, Love?
I've been home 3.5 years.
What are you doing? You working?
Hell yeah. I was working. I came home Wednesday. I was working that weekend.
So tell the people what you do, man.
Okay, I was doing security, but then that started drying up. And 6 months ago, I started delivering car parts for a company. I do that throughout the week right now, Monday through Friday. I got a job. Everybody was like, "Yo, you need a job with benefits." So okay, I got a job with benefits. So
are you driving truck or?
Yeah, a box truck. A box truck. I drive up through northern Georgia. I got a route up there. It's my route. I run it throughout the week, and then finish off. And then what?
In Georgia, you miss the city?
I do, but traveling when you on supervised release is a headache. So I'm trying to really wait this out so I can travel like I want to without filling out papers and all that shit. Because I want to visit the town, but It ain't too much up there for me no more, except for a couple of my day ones that's still up there that's doing good. I would only fuck with the ones that's doing what I'm doing the right thing. Like I got a homie up there. He on his security shit. He want me to come up there real bad. He was like, "You can stay with me for whatever couple of days you come up here," and so on and so forth. And everything is different now. They said New York is like full of cameras, and it's just totally different.
Different life, man. Hopefully you get to see it again.
Oh yeah, of course.
So now, you've been out for a long time, 3.5 years. You're living your best life. I seen you. People sent me your stuff off of TikTok. Like, you got to interview this dude. I watched your stuff. And every time I watched the video, man, you were kind of like smiling and laughing. And you're like, damn, I'm like, man, I like this dude. I'm going to holler at this dude, right? Like, you're personable. Tell the people how they can find you, brother.
Oh, you can find me on Facebook. I'm Love Brooks. On TikTok and Instagram is true_93 love, because my name is Love and I got locked up in 93, so I put 93 love. You can pull up my music by pulling up 93 love. Or you can hit the link on my bios. Any one of them, you can hit my link. You can listen to my music. You can look up my book, my superhero novel, Dark Soul. He crushing everything in the MCU.
Well, listen, man, definitely appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to say before we get ready to go?
I'm cool. I'm glad. I'm happy that you finally made this happen, because I really wanted to talk to you. Because a lot of people kept telling, the same way you said they was talking to you, they kept telling me, "Hey man, you should talk to Chad Marks. You should talk to Chad Marks." And so I'm glad that this finally happened. And you're from the town, so it was cool speaking to you.
I definitely appreciate you. I'm gonna tell people, if you like what we're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.
All right.